Hey there, let's do this test, guys. So we have a test over these paired passages. The World is 100 People, the infographic by Jack Hagley, and a contribution to statistics, the poem by Wisława Szymborska. We can launch both of these. If you open, you will have to answer some specific questions about this infographic. So if you open it in Kami, you can, I'll just do the control plus, however yours works. But anyway, you can open it so that you can actually read the categories there. And then I'm going to go back to the test and also open the poem so that I will have both of these open to refer back to. If you haven't done the assignments that lead up to this, then you need to exit and do the assignments. If you haven't read it and answered the questions and studied the read pages, you probably will not do well on this test. I'm looking for ways to hold you more accountable for getting your assignments done. But one thing, I said this yesterday and I'll say it again, we've already got a class of students that are not doing their work that are going to be assigned to my homeroom. That class is already set up. When you come back, you'll get a new schedule. But I do have the option of adding some more people to that. So if you don't want to be in that class where you have to do English work during your homeroom period, then I would get busy getting your work done. There are some of you who have not done the last test. So that's all I'm going to say about that right now. Let's start out. The author of the infographic presents categories that are, so obviously the categories are these in the middle. So the categories are likely to activate the emotions of readers, supported by available data, or data, whichever way you say it, difficult to measure statistically, or important to his worldview. So where did he most likely get the data for these categories? They seem to be very specific. Let's just look at one together. So the world is 100 people. So out of this 100 people that he picked to represent the world, 60 out of 100 or 60% live in Asia, 15 Africa, 9% in South America, 5% in North America, and 11 in Europe, all of Europe. So how would you characterize the data that's provided? It presents categories that are likely to activate the emotions, supported by available data, difficult to measure statistically. Statistically means with numbers and facts and details, are important to his worldview, the way he sees the world. By using 100 people to represent the world population, the author of the infographic portrays life experiences of individual people, emphasizes the enormous size of the world's population, presents data that is easily conceptualized by most people. You might want to look up that word conceptualized. Highlights world problems and how they can be solved. Number 3, review the phones and internet portions of the infographic. What conclusions can be drawn about the people these categories represent? So I spent a lot of time on this question. I took this as a test user, took this test as a test user to see how it would do and what questions you might have a hard time on. So it took me a minute on this one. So the phone category says the phone and internet. So it says 25 out of 100 do not have a phone, a cell phone. 75 out of 100 do have cell phones. But when you look at internet, 30 out of 100 can access the internet, 70 cannot. So just analyzing that data, what can you say? Most people who own phones do not own phones with internet access. All people with internet access own a device that can support it. All people with internet access on a phone can access the internet by computer. Most people living in poverty cannot access the internet. Number 4, select 2 statements about the infographic that are true. We're still on the world as 100 people. It presents data that are representative proportions of the whole. It presents the most important data about the world's population. It presents key population characteristics for the 5 largest countries. It presents data that can be easily understood by skimming. It presents quality of life categories in the order of importance. So all of these sound very professional and very, oh yeah, that could be. Look at the infographic and see if you can justify these statements, okay? If you can't find a reason that this statement would be true, then don't choose it. Number 5, we're switching over to the poem now. The author of the poem uses statistics to present her pessimistic view of humanity. You might want to look up this word. Present measurable data about human nature. Can she measure these? And remember, if you watched the videos, you should have some ideas about some of these. Present a poetic picture of the world's population. Present her summary of human nature. Number 6, the author uses an idiom in line 17 of the poem 2. So we would have to go to line 17 here. So here's 15, 16, 17. Not to be taken lightly. 44 out of 100 people are not to be taken lightly. So the question is, why does she use that idiom? To prompt readers to think beyond the facts, to express a more complicated idea in fewer words. So not to be taken lightly. Think even what that means. Communicate a precise meaning for which there is no exact word, or awaken the reader's senses. One more time. Not to be taken lightly, the idiom. Did she use it to prompt readers to think beyond the facts, to express a more complicated idea in fewer words, to communicate a precise meaning for which there is no exact word, or to awaken the reader's senses? You might even want to look up what an idiom is. That might help you a little bit. To emphasize human characteristics and their statistics, the author of the poem uses, and frankly, one of these things was on one of your get ready pages, one of the ideas, one of the things that was introduced there. And so it's very important that you read everything that you're supposed to read and complete all the activities before you take your test. So which one of these does the author of the poem use? Parallelism, rhythm, punctuated line breaks, or stanzas of varying lengths? Number 8, what is the meaning of the idiom in line 38 of the poem? So let's go down. Here's line 35, 36, 37, 38. No flashlight in the dark. Okay, so the author, or the question is telling us that is an idiom. I don't know why I just did that. Okay, so back to the question. What is the meaning of the idiom in line 38 of the poem? Some people do not have flashlights. Not everyone has access to electricity. People in pain can lose hope. Some people don't have medical care. So make sure that you read this whole stanza in context to answer that question. Number 9, how does the author of the poem use parallelism and shifts? Again, this was talked about on the Get Ready page and on some of your questions. So I'll leave you to answer that, but make sure you remember you will not get credit for it if you just write to something or because something. If you write 5 or 6 words, you will not get credit for it, period. Number 10, I struggled with this one a little bit. Select the button that matches each characteristic with its text. So you're going to read the statement and tell me which one of these texts does it apply to. The world is 100 people, which is the infographic, or a contribution to statistics, which is the poem. So we're talking about explicitly and implicitly. Explicitly means it comes right out and says it, okay? Implicitly means it's implied. It doesn't come right out and say it, but that it is implied. If you need to look up either one of those words, you're welcome to look them up. So explicitly comes right out and talks about the concept of mortality, the infographic or the poem. If you don't know what mortality is, look it up. Implicitly or implies the concept of mortality. The main focus is on human behavior. The main focus is on population characteristics. Number 11, the author of both texts, so this is something that's the same about them, compare and contrast traits of humanity through exclusive use of exact numbers. Communicate the unreliability of statistics by using approximate numbers. That would mean both of them use approximate numbers. Both of them contrast traits of humanity by using exact numbers. Both of them point out negatives in society by emphasizing problems and solutions. Do both texts do that? Or present statistical concepts artistically. And then your last question, compare and contrast the purposes and messages of the infographic and the poem. What is the effect of placing the two selections together? So what is the purpose and the message? So you need to tell me both. What is the purpose and the message of the infographic? He comes right out and tells you at the beginning. And what is the purpose and the message of the poem? And what do you think about how these two go together? Do they fit together well as a paired passage? And if so, why? If you don't think they do, then why not? Okay. That's going to require, notice that you have a 10,000 word limit. I don't expect you to write me a whole essay, but I do expect you to write me a paragraph. Okay. There's your test. Like I said, some of you haven't gotten the last test done. These are not, I'll get it done when I feel like it type assignments. You have to get these done. Okay. I guess that's all. And I will talk to you later. Email me with any questions.